Okay, Rabbi Isai, let us continue. We are at the very bottom of page Samach Beis Amid Beis. We didn't have time to finish because of Rosh Chodesh yesterday. So Tanan Hasam, we learn in the Mishnah in Maseches Midos, Hakevesh v'hamizbeach shishim ushtayim. We had learned this before, that if you take the joint dimensions, the length, beginning at the bottom of the ramp all the way to the other side of the Mizbeach, you measure 62 amos. Now, of course, that's not consistent because Hani Shisin va'arbahavu. The ramp is 32 and the Mizbeach is 32, so it should be 64, not 62. So Nimsa Pareach Ama al Yesod va'ama al Sovev. So the answer is like we learned before, that there's a slight overlap. The ramp overlaps the Ama of the Yesod, which is one Ama. It overlaps the Sovev, and it connects at the top. So from the top, then the distance is 32 plus 30, so that's where you get 62. Okay. Amar Rami Bar Chama, Kol Kivshei Kivashim, Sholosh Amos La'ama, Chutz Mikivasho Shel Mizbeach, Shahayo Sholosh Amos Umechza Ve'etzba Ushlish Etzba B'Zachrusa. So, and some change the Gerson, instead of saying B'Zachrusa, B'Zutrasa. It essentially means the same thing. That whenever you know how there are handicap access regulations. Every government creates a ramp grade requirement, right? I think they call it a grade, right? They call it a grade. So the percentage of grade. And you have to make sure that if you're providing a wheelchair access, the grade can't be so steep that it's too hard to get up with a wheelchair. Now, even when you're walking, if you're walking and it's so steep, you could slip and fall. So therefore, halachically, anytime a ramp is mandated, the ramp should be 1 amma height for every 3 ammas length. So if you can imagine the isosceles triangle that we're creating, it's 3 ammas horizontally and 1 amma vertically, and that's how you create your hypotenuse. Right. Okay? So the exception to that rule is the ramp that is going up to the Mizbeach. There could be other ramps, like we learned yesterday, there were 2 ancillary ramps. That 3-to-1 ratio is fine, but for the ramp going up to the Mizbeach, they created even a smaller grade. In other words, an even more gradual elevation. And it's actually 3 and a half and a little bit more, using your thumb as the measurement of that extra etzba and a third of an etzba as the measurement. Why 3.5 and a little bit more to 1 instead of 3-to-1? So Rashi says you need it to be more gradual, because when a Kohen is going up that ramp, he's schlepping heavy things. And if the grade is normal, there's a greater chance of slippage. So that's why they were more machmir. So as you can imagine, it's 32 with 10 amos high instead of simply 30 by 10 amos high, okay?
Just the effort to scale the ramp. It's going to be harder when you're carrying all that stuff.
Actually, right. Right. The effort to scale a ramp. Rashi says it's 32 to 9 amos. I beg your pardon. And I'm trying to remember where he gets the 9 amos from. All right. It's because the ramp, I guess, starts above the yesod, is, I guess, the way that you're looking at it. Okay. In any event, that's a greater ratio.
What's bezachruta?
Bezachruta, using the thumb as the measurement of the etzba, the thickness, the width of the thumb. Okay, let's go on to the next Mishnah. Menachos hayu nikmatzos b'chol makom ba'azara, v'ne'echolos lifnim min ha'kloim lezichrei kahuna, b'chol meichel, liyom v'layla ad chatzos. This Mishnah deals now with the korban mincha, and the korban mincha is kodshei kodshim, I believe in all situations, I may be mistaken. And when you do the kemitza, which is where the Kohen takes a fistful of flour, which is going to be placed on the Mizbeach, that act of kemitza, taking a fistful of flour from the container, can be done anywhere in the Azara. There's no specific requirement for it to be done in any specific area, like by other kodshei kodshim. But v'ne'echolos lifnim min ha'kloim, the remainder of the flour that is given to the Kohen, it's called the shiorei hamincha, or the shirayim, is given to the Kohen. And he can eat it anywhere within the environs of the temple, lezichrei kahuna, but it can only be eaten by male kohanim. He can't share it with the rest of his family. B'chol ma'achal, it can be eaten he can prepare the flour any way he likes. Liyom v'layla ad chatzos, and he can eat it that whole day that the mincha is brought, plus the following evening until chatzas. The Gemara now says, Amar Rebbe Lazar, mincha shenik mitzvah beheichal keshera, shekain matzinu besilik bezichin. If a person were to do the kmitza instead of in the courtyard, but were instead to do it inside the heichal itself, which is the covered portion of the temple, that normally you would think that, that's not the designated area. But it's kosher, and how can I prove it to you? Because the spoons of frankincense, there are 2 spoons of frankincense that rest on the showbread table all week. And the Torah says you first need to remove the spoons of frankincense, and then you remove the showbread of the previous week to replace it with the new showbread. And so essentially it is the removal of the frankincense spoons that allow you to eat the 12 loaves of showbread. So since that's a form of kmitza, in other words, you're scooping up something to permit you to eat the rest of the flour product, you see that it can be done in the heichal, and therefore kmitza of a regular mincha can be done in a heichal as well. So Masav Reb Yirmiyah, the kamatz misham mimakom shiragle hazar omdos. So the first line of this brisa seems to contradict that, because the brisa says that the Torah talks about a regular Jew bringing a korban mincha to the Kohen. The Torah says he shall bring it to the Kohen, and the Kohen shall do kmitza from there, implying from the place where the Yisrael is standing. So doesn't that indicate that the heichal, which is not a place where Yisrael stands, is not okay for kmitza? Well, we're going to finish the brisa first, and then we'll come back to it. Ben Beseira Omer Minayim Shim Komatz Bismol Shiachzer V'Yikmotz Biyamin. Ben Beseira asks, there's another thing we learn from this pasuk. How do you know that if the Kohen accidentally did kmitza with his left hand, he should go back and redo kmitza with his right hand? In other words, don't think that since he did kmitza illicitly, it ruins the whole mincha. No, you're allowed to do a redo, just do a different kmitza with your right hand. So how do you know this? Talmud lomar misham, mimakom shekamatz kvar. Because the Torah adds that word misham, the kamatz misham melokum, so he shall do kmitza from there, implying from the place that he had been previously. Okay, so Ika da Amri, hu mosiv la v'hu mefarik la, Ika da Amri amalei Rabbi Yaakov la Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Tachlifa asper alach. So we now have a kasha from this brisa. How can you tell me that kmitza done in the heichal is kosher when the implication is that a Yisrael has to be able to stand in the place of the kmitza? So some say that Rabbi Yirmiyah himself answered the question, and some say that Rabbi Yaakov answered to Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Tachlifa the question. Lo nitzrecha ela lahachshir kol ha'azara kula. Sal kadaita chamina hol va'ola kadshe kachim mincha kadshe kachim ma'ola tu'unat safon af mincha tu'unat safon. So the Gemara says, no, you misunderstood the teaching of that brisa. When the brisa tells you that the Kohen does kmitza in the place where the Yisrael is standing, it's not a requirement, it's an allowance. Meaning that you might have thought that just like a korban ola is kadshe kachim, and it has to dafka be done in the tzafon on the right flank of the mizbeach, where Yisrael is not allowed to stand, you might have argued that a mincha, which is also kadshe kachim, has the same halachic status, and therefore a Kohen may not do kmitza in the place where Yisrael is standing, comes along the pasuk and gives you an allowance that you can even do the kmitza not on the northern flank, but anywhere within the Hazara, even in a place where Yisrael is standing. But it's not telling you that you cannot do the kmitza if Yisrael cannot stand there. It's not requiring to do the kmitza in a place where Yisrael can stand, but rather it's allowing you to do it even where Yisrael can stand. So that's the correct understanding. So therefore, it's not a contradiction to the idea that a Kohen can do the kmitza in the heichal. So the Gemara says, I don't understand why you would make the analogy to a korban ola. Mala ola shekain kalil. Because maybe an ola is limited in where you can shecht it, because it's totally burnt on the mizbech. It has more stringencies, whereas a korban mincha is not. So why would you make that analogy? So the Gemara says, you're right, mechatas. So I would make the analogy to korban chatas, which is also kadshe kachim, has to be done in the north. I would have made the analogy from a chatas to a mincha. But wait a minute, malachatas shekain mechaper sal chabe krisus. But maybe that's also not an apt analogy, because a korban chatas is more chamer because it atones for very major crimes for which the liability is kares, and that's not true by a mincha. Okay, says the Gemara, me asham. Okay, so you would make the analogy to a korban asham, which also has to be done on the right flank of the northern flank. It is not so high that like a chatas, it's not totally burnt, and that's the analogy to a mincha. But wait a minute, mala asham shekein minei damim. So, but wait a minute, a korban asham also maybe is more stringent because it involves blood atonement, and blood atonement, because of its very important stature, maybe that's the reason why it's limited to the north, and a mincha would not have that restriction. And mikulu, so then learn it out from all three. And malakulu shekein minei damim. But all three also, even if you're going to make a tzara shaveh, but all three also involve blood. And maybe that's the reason they're limited to the north. So why would you make an analogy from those three karbanos to a mincha? So the Gemara says, oh, you're right. Ela itzra salka daita chamina hol chesivi higisha el hamizbeach behirim imenu bekumtso mahagasha bekeren ma'rovis deromis af kamitza bekeren ma'rovis deromis kamash malan. So the Gemara says, you're right. The correct thinking that needs to be deflected by this brisa is as follows, is that I might have thought that, as we're going to learn in the next Mishnah, that before you do the kamitza, you're supposed to take this container of flour and touch it to the southwest corner of the mizbeach. The southwest corner of the mizbeach, touch the container of flour to that corner, and then only therefore afterwards can you do the kamitza. So I might have thought that the kamitza is also limited to that area, and therefore you need the brisa to tell you, no, you're permitted to do the kamitza elsewhere, outside of that vicinity of the southwest corner. And that's the chiddush. So, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shlomim sheshachlan behechel kesherim, shene'amar ushchato pesach ol moed v'lo yehi tafel chamer min ha'ikr. A related halacha, says Rabbi Yochanan, that if a kohen shechts a korban shlomim, which is only kodshim kalim, the lower form of kodshim, but if he shechts it in the heichal, that too is kosher. And the argument is made from a kal v'chomer, sort of. Basically, the Torah says, where are you supposed to shech the korban shlamim? At the entrance to the Ohel Moed, at the entrance to the Heichal. So if the Torah is defining the Azara as the place which is ancillary, which is sort of tafel, sort of the whole function of the courtyard is that it's a courtyard to the Heichal. So if the Torah is telling you to shecht it in the courtyard, then surely you can go to the main place, which is the Heichal, and shecht it there. So the Gemara now says Meisvei. Well, let's challenge that. Rabbi Yochanan we're going to challenge the premise that if the Torah calls the courtyard the place which is at the entrance to the Heichal, then surely the Heichal is the appropriate place. But so Rabbi Yochanan says, Ben Beseira Omer, Minayin Shemekifo Ovdei Kochavim Es Kol HaAzara, Shahakohanim Nichnasim L'Sham Va'ochlin Sham Kadshe Kadshe. So there's a brisa that says, what happens if the temple becomes besieged by enemies? And the Kohanim want to eat their kudshim, but they can't because they can't go into the Azara, so they're going to need to barricade themselves in a closed room. They can go into the Heichal and eat the kudshim there. And how do you know that? Talmud loymar b'kodesh hakodashim tochalenu. Because the Torah says, eat it in the Holy of Holies, meaning not just eat it in a state of holiness, but eat it spatially in a place which is called Holy of Holies, which proves to me that you can eat kudshim in the Heichal. Now, va'amai nema b'chatzar ol moed yochalua v'lo yehi tafel chamer min ha'ikr. So the Gemara says, why do you need a special pasuk to teach you that the Kohanim, when they're barricaded in, are allowed to eat their kudshim in the Heichal? You shouldn't need a special pasuk. You already have the idea that the Torah says, eat kudshim at the entrance to Ol Moed. And if the whole argument is that the courtyard is ancillary to the Heichal, so then automatically I would know from that pasuk that they can eat it inside the Heichal. Why do I need a second pasuk? So the Gemara says, I'll tell you why. Because hachi hashta hasam avoda da adam obed b'makom rabo amrinan lo yehi tafel chamer min ha'ikr. But achila de'ein adam oichel b'makom rabo lo yehi tafel chamer min ha'ikr lo amrinan. There's a fundamental difference. Using a logical argument, in a situation where a person is doing, the Kohen is doing avoda, such as he's doing the shchita, he's doing the kamitza. So in that situation, you can say the courtyard is ancillary to the Heichal, and therefore if the courtyard is good enough, so certainly the Heichal is good enough. Why? Because we compare a Kohen to being the employee of the Ribono Shel Olam. So it's not unusual for an employee to be working out in the field of his employer, or alternatively, to be working inside the house of his employer. That makes sense. But there are many times when it comes to eating the carbon, which is what we're talking about over here, by eating kachim, you can't make that analogy. Sometimes the balabas eats inside his dining room, and he doesn't want his employee to eat together with him. He has his employee eat somewhere else, in the workers' quarters, or out in the
upstairs,
field, upstairs, downstairs, wherever it's going to be. So therefore, the analogy is not apt. Just because the Torah allows the Kohanim to eat kachim at the courtyard doesn't automatically grant them permission to eat kachim in the Heichal, unless you have a special pasuk granting them permission to do so, and that's why the Braisa needed to bring that special pasuk. Let's take a look at the next Mishnah. Chatos ha'of ha'isa na'aseis al keren deromis maravis uvechol makom ha'isa keshera elazeh ha'isa mekoma. Now, the avoda for the chatas ha'of, that means that there are times when the Torah will permit you to bring a korban chatas that is ola v'yored, meaning it can be a fluctuating value. So the Torah will say, for certain sins, you can bring a korban chatas of an animal, and if you can't afford the animal, you can bring a bird instead, and if you can't afford the bird, you bring a flour offering. Now, so for the bird chatas, the protocol is different from an animal chatas. For the bird chatas, you do the blood work on the southwest corner of the mizbeach, uvechol makom ha'isa kshera, and the truth is, the blood work could be done anywhere around the Mizbeach, but elazeh ha'isa mekoma, but this is its place. Now that phrase is a bit extraneous. If you already got through telling me, l'chatchila do it in the southwest corner, but b'di'evid it can be done anywhere, why do you have to add, but the southwest corner is the right place? That's extraneous. The Gemara is going to address that. Ushlosha dvarim ha'isa osa keren mishameshes milamata, ushlosha milamayla. There were three functions for this southwest corner. 3 that were done above the Chut HaSikra, and another 3 that were done below the Chut HaSikra, for a total of 6 functions. Now, what we mean by the Chut HaSikra, we've talked about this before, is that going up vertically from the bottom of the Mizbeach, which is 10 amos high total, so you would have, at the 5 amma point, you would have a line that would show you that this is the halfway point, going up vertically. So certain types of blood had to be placed above the Chut HaSikra for certain karbanos, and for other karbanos the blood had to be placed below the Chut HaSikra. So the Mishnah tells us that 3 types of avoda were done above the Chut HaSikra, and 3 types of avoda were done below the Chut HaSikra. So milamata chatas ha'of v'hagasho sushiori hadam. So below the Chut HaSikra, you did the bird chatas, you sprinkled its blood below the chut. You also brought the container of flour and you touched the southwest corner at that point. And the third thing is shiorei hadam, any leftover blood from certain types of karbanos were poured into a receptacle that was at the bottom of the southwest corner. Umilamalan nisa chayayin v'hamayim va'ola sa'of kishehi rabba b'mizrach. And the 3 types of avoda that were done above the Chut HaSikra in the southwest corner were when you would stand on the top of the Mizbeach and do nisuch hamayim, the water libation on Sukkos, and the wine libation that was done on a regular basis for certain karbanos, and you would pour them into a receptacle that was that was right above the southwest corner. And the third thing that you would use the southwest corner for is that when there was an ola sa'of, a bird ola, it's normally supposed to be done in the southeast corner, but when there were too many kohanim, it was too crowded, too much traffic, they would push the overflow traffic to the southwest corner. So that's where you would do the avoda on the southwest corner, and the blood for an ola goes above the Chut HaSikra, in contrast to a chatas, which is below the Chut HaSikra. Now, kol ha'olan lamizbech olan derech yamin, u'mekifin v'yordim derech smol, chutz min ha'ola legimel elu, chutz min ha'ola rather, legimel elu, shayu olan v'yordin al ha'cave. He says, the final statement of the Mishnah is that anytime you went up the ramp, you would go in a counterclockwise direction, which means turning always to the right. In order to go around on the sovev or go to the top of the mizbeach, you always have to move motion to your right, which is going in a counterclockwise direction. Do you all imagine that, right? So, and that's the way you would get down. When you want to get down, you also have to move in a counterclockwise direction in order to get down. The only exception is if you have to do an avoda in the southwest corner. So the reason is, for a very practical reason, the southwest corner is directly to your left, right? So to tell you, you got to go all around, right, in order to get to the southwest corner, that's not an efficient method of travel. And so therefore, the exception for moving to the right is, for this corner's avoda, you can even move to the left, and the Gemara will elaborate on this. And when you leave, you can just retrace your steps and walk back the same way that you came. So therefore, you're continuing in the counterclockwise direction, at least when you're leaving, but you can go clockwise to your left when you're going up to the southwest corner. Let's take a look now at the Gemara. Minahani mili. Where do we know this idea from, that the olas ha'of is supposed to be done in the southwest corner? So, Amar Rabbi Yoshua, Amar Kra, Lo yasim aleha shemen velo yitain aleha levoina ki chatos hi, that you shall not place oil or frankincense on a bird sin offering, because for a sin offering it has to be done with abject humility, with no sort of nothing added to it, just plain flour. So the word mincha and chatas appear in the same pasuk. So chatas kuruya mincha umincha kuruya chatas. Machatas tu'unat safon, af mincha tu'unat safon. So for certain reasons, the Torah is connecting a korban chatas to a generic korban mincha. Now this line that I just read, ma chatas tu'unat safon, af mincha tu'unat safon, is very problematic. Because if you recall, the Mishnah previously had said that a korban mincha is not done, the kamitza is not done in the north, the kamitza can be done anywhere. So what does the Mishnah mean over here, this brisa mean, when it says that just like a mincha has to be done in the north, so too does a chatas ha'of. So it doesn't make any, or just like a chatas requires northness, so too does a mincha. That doesn't make any sense. So Rashi says you have to cross out this line, and really you have to read it as ma chatas pesula shelo lishma af mincha pesula shelo lishma. This is Rashi's girsa. He says just like a chatas, if it's shechted shelo lishma, the whole carbon is pasul, and it can't be brought on the mizbeach. The same thing is true with a mincha. If you do the kamitza shelo lishma, you totally pasul the mincha. Next, what's the next connection? Uma mincha bekeren ma'aravis deromis, avchatos bekeren ma'aravis deromis. And just like a mincha is, the avoda is done on the southwest corner. Remember we said you're supposed to take the container of flour and touch it to the southwest corner. So too the chatas, the bird chatas, has to be done on the southwest corner. Now, umincha gufa minolan. Now how taka do we know that the avoda of a mincha is done on the southwest corner? Detanya lifnei Hashem, yachol b'marav tamalomer el pnei hamizbeach. So the answer is that when the pasuk talks about the korban mincha, it says you shall bring the korban mincha lifnei Hashem el pnei hamizbeach, in front of Hashem, at the face of the mizbeach. Now we learned yesterday what side is the mizbeach's face. It's the south, the place where the Kohanim go first up and encounter it by when they go up the ramp. That's the south side. What does Lifnei Hashem usually imply? The west, facing the Heichal. So you have an inherent contradiction in the pasuk. Lifnei Hashem implies west. El Pnei HaMizbeach implies south. So how do you reconcile it? I El Pnei HaMizbeach Yachol B'daram. So it can't be in the west because it says to the face of the Mizbeach, and it can't be to the face of the Mizbeach because it says Tamal Amar Lifnei Hashem. So ha-ketzad, Magisha bekeren maravis teromis keneged chuda shel keren v'dayo. So therefore the brisa concludes that what you need to do is the southwest corner, where south and west meet. And that's where you take the container of flour and touch it to the corner of the Mizbeach. That's one opinion. But Rabbi Eliezer Omer Yachol Yagishena leMarav Shel Keren Olidroma Shel Keren. He has a different interpretation, and he says, I acknowledge the contradiction. It implies both west and south at the same time. So Amart Kol Makom Shatamotze Shnei Mikros Echad Mekayim Atzmo Mekayim Chavero Vechad Mekayim Atzmo Mevatel Chavero Ma'anichan zeh shemekayim atzum u'mevatel chavero v'topsin es shemekayim atzum u'mekayim chavero. So the answer is like this. The answer is that you have to create a situation where you can create as much reconciliation between a contradiction as possible. If you have one phrase or one verse that totally contradicts another verse, but you can take the other verse and read it in such a way that it doesn't totally contradict the other verse, you go with the latter and not with the former.
Right.
So therefore, in this instance, Kisha'ata Omer, so therefore, if you read it as Lifnei Hashem b'ma'arav, Heichan kiyamta el penei hamizbeach. He says, if you say Lifnei Hashem means the west, there's no way that you can reconcile it to say penei hamizbeach, which is the south. But uchesha'ata omer el penei hamizbeach b'darom kiyamta lifnei Hashem. But if you say penei hamizbeach means the south, then it is possible concomitantly to accomplish that it's lifnei Hashem, that it's in front of the heichal. Now, how is that possible? B'daram heichan kiyamta. So the Gemara says, what is that? What does Rabbi Eliezer mean? How can you accomplish lifnei Hashem if it's on the southern side? If you're doing the zrika of the chatas ha'of on the southern side. So Amar Rav Ashi kasavar haitana kulei mizbeach b'tzafon koi. The answer is that Rabbi Eliezer holds that the position of the mizbeach was not centered in front of the heichal, but it was shifted to the north, such that the entire southern side of the Mizbeach was parallel to the doorway of the Heichal. And therefore, since while you're standing facing from the south, facing the wall of the Mizbeach, you're also on your left side, directly opposite the doorway, you can do the Zrika on the entire southern wall in order to accomplish both in front of Hashem and at the face of the Mizbeach. Okay? So that's Rabbi Eliezer's shita. So anyway, b'chol makom ha'isa keshera v'chulei. So now let's go back to that strange language that the Mishnah had said, that really it had said that you're supposed to do the avoda of the chatas ha'of on the southwest corner, but b'di'evet, if it was done anywhere else, it's still kosher, but this is its place. What does it mean, but this is its place? What is that supposed to mean? My ka'amar. Amar Rav Ashi hachi ka'amar. B'chol makom ha'isa kashera limalikasa, elazeh haya mekoma lahaza'asa. That the way you read it is as follows. That really, the malika, which is the killing of the bird with the Kohen's thumb, even lechatchila can be done anywhere in the azara. The only requirement, at least lechatchila, when you're doing the zrika sadam, is to do it in the southwest corner. And even that b'di'evet, as we'll see, if it wasn't done on the southwest corner, but at least the blood was flicked on the mizbeach at some point, presumably where there's a yesod, then b'di'evet it's kosher. Now, tanin elaha, and we actually have a brisa to support this. So therefore, our Mishnah is really addressing two things. It's addressing the lechatchila of where you're supposed to do the sprinkling of the blood, and it's addressing lechatchila where you're supposed to do the malika. So the malika could be anywhere. The malika could be anywhere, even lechatchila, and the haza'ah, the sprinkling of the blood, lechatchila should be in the southwest corner, but b'di'evet it could be anywhere. The Tanu Rabbanan said that the brisa supports this. Melakeh b'chol makom b'mizbeach keshera, that if you do malika anywhere within the vicinity of the mizbeach, it's kosher. He's adama b'chol makom keshera. And if you sprinkle the blood, molka b'chol makom mizbeach keshera, if you did malika anywhere in the environs of the mizbeach, it's kosher. If you sprinkled its blood anywhere on the mizbeach, it's kosher. He's a v'lo mitzah keshera. And if you did only the sprinkling of the blood, and then you did not follow that with the what's called the mitzoi, which is where you take the body of the bird and press it against the altar so that the blood squeezes out and runs down the side of the altar, then it's still kosher. Because mitzoi is not ma'akev. Zrika is ma'akev, but not mitzoi. The only proviso is that it must be placed below the chut hasikra, that line, that horizontal line that is halfway up the mizbeach. Now, ulamata midam hanefesh, and you have to use the blood that is the vital blood of the bird. You can't just wait. You get a few drops at the end after most of the blood has flowed out. Now, my kamer. So again, this is very puzzling. You just told me that the hazah can be done anywhere b'di'evid, and now you're changing it and you're saying it has to be below the chut hasikra. So what do you mean? So hachi ka'amar, molka b'chol makom b'mizbeach keshera, that if you do malika anywhere around the altar, it's kosher. Mitzah dama b'chol makom b'mizbeach keshera, if you do the mitzoi anywhere on the mizbeach, it's kosher. She'im hiza v'lo mitzah keshera, and the reason why mitzoi were so liberal is because even if you didn't do mitzoi at all, it's kosher. Uvilvad she'itein michut hasikra ulamata midam hanefesh. But the only thing that we do absolutely require in order to achieve atonement is that the sprinkling of the blood has to be below the chut hasikra, and so therefore, that's the correct way of, of interpreting what our Mishnah is saying. Is that there are certain requirements for the blood sprinkling to be in a certain place, but the only requirement is that it has to be below the chut hasikra. If b'di'evet, lechatchila, you should do that below the chut hasikra at the southwest corner. B'di'evet, if you botched it and you did it anywhere else on the mizbeach where there's a yesod, it's still kosher b'di'evet. Okay, so we'll hold it here for today. Guten Erev Shabbos.
We learned from here, you have to go out and